What if I told you Pope Francis is literally the most viral pope in history? He changed the playbook on how global leaders capture attention.
Today on the Viral Ideas podcast, we're celebrating his top 3 breakout moments, just straight up lessons in authentic virality.
If you make content or lead teams, you're going to walk away from this with some fresh new ideas and a whole new respect for the Pope. Okay, so check this out. On December 11th, 2024, at his weekly general audience, Pope Francis paused to take a selfie with a newly married couple.
The shot was quickly shared on Vatican channels and blew up across Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Millions of views under 24 hours.
This was obviously huge. It was just like an infinitely shareable moment. There's a reason why you've got Yahoo Life talking about this, but we also found dozens of other publications doing this. I found more pictures of Pope doing selfies with newly married couples. Honestly, think this was like a genuine strategy for media attention, and this was the one that really hooked for them. This is not the Pope's first time doing that. He's probably done this like 10 times.
Yeah, honestly, it's a huge lesson for anyone that has like a higher platform or any famous person in a industry somewhere out there to just be relatable to people. For celebrities, what they might not realize is like no one really cares about all the accolades or Academy Awards that they won. Sometimes the thing that matters most to your fan base or following is really to be human and shake hands, take pictures with them. There's a similar case with Maroon 5 as well. Music video, Sugar, they essentially performed into random people's weddings and captured all those interesting moments. So it's very similar to the strategy that celebrities or already famous can really use.
Yeah, this is proof that when you are a leader and cameras are already on you, you've got to remember anything in your daily life is surface area for potential virality. He's looking to build a connection that feels human with his audience. And yeah, he very clearly delivered on that.
Yeah. And even if you're not the Pope Francis or the next Pope, something that can very much take away for anyone out there is if they're a department leader or a founder, CEO of some company, sometimes the thing that matters most is really just shake people's hands and just be polite.
I hear you on that. He is one of the most viral popes because he knew what to do when the cameras were rolling. And what this means for somebody who's listening to this, a creator or a founder or whatever it is, when you're having events that are happening, what I'll say IRL, you should have the cameras rolling on that because moments like this can happen. And the level of free media value that they've gotten from that is just insurmountable. They never even could have bought it because it's a real moment.
Yeah, being nice is literally free and has positive value.
I think we all remember this, right?
Yeah. Unescapable moment. So number 2, this is in March 2023. An AI generated image of Pope Francis in a white Balenciaga style puffer jacket went viral. And there was literally millions of views before anyone realized it was a deep fake.
So I'm pretty sure the person who made this had used Midjourney. I mean, it really does look plausible. These AI models were there even 2 years ago that it really did convince a lot of people, even pretty savvy users, that the Pope really went out and wore this.
Sometimes when you create these fake content, it's like a decent test market to figure out what your test audience's appetite might be to actually launch the real thing. When this image came out, it got a bunch of keyword searches for Pope Francis, but it also got a lot of searches for Balenciaga to see if this is a real outfit and where can all these luxury fashion consumers purchase the actual outfit. It's within that world of news where it is plausible because Italian nuns with Lamborghinis, if you search that up, is a thing. When you see the Pope wearing that, you're like, that might be plausible. Maybe he was somewhere cold and he just need a really nice outer layer jacket. Maybe Balenciaga just gave it to him for free to wear it. So I think it's in that world of like, is it real?
That just goes to show what a success you can have if you can create a sensible, recognizable world around your brand. because there's no Balenciaga logo anywhere on this. People just like assumed that that's what this is. Then crossing that over with the Pope creates a viral moment. But of course, the biggest risk here is, oh, doesn't this risk the credibility of the brand of the Pope and everything? And well, the answer to that is like they very quickly went out and spoke against this, and they said this never happened. This is all fake, and they completely denied that. Were they really upset behind the scenes about this happening? I think probably not. I bet the church was pretty happy that they had a meme naturally go viral amongst young audiences that they are currently struggling to capture.
Yeah.
So I doubt they were upset with that. But of course, they saved their own credibility by saying, "Hey, this wasn't us. We didn't do this. We had no part in it." It just builds up that brand awareness for them, which is again a huge win. But if they said, "Hey, it was us," people would be like, "Well, that's boring." You know, it's a great example of just letting the world speak for you.
Yeah. Prominent celebrities actually have the power to take down all the publication photos. That's something that's within their power. The fact that those didn't go down means that the Vatican never really pursued any legal cases. And sometimes that happens because these celebrities actually do want their facial features or their memes out there in order to create this relevance. That's why we see so many Kim Kardashian memes out there on these free GIF websites, because even though they have the ability to resend that that random clip on Keeping Up with the Kardashians, they just chose not to pursue that case.
Platforms have started popping up that allow brands or creators to put out bounties. Drewski is doing this, for example. Post my videos online, just share them, repost them, go crazy with them. Keep the ad revenue, who cares? And if you get 1 million views on one of those videos that you repost of Drewski, well, then you'll get like $300 or something. You just need buzz online, and it's all going to work out in the end. So, Runda, to tie it up, what would you say is the main lesson here on the Balenciaga Pope?
We can learn a little bit of how Apple has a relationship with these leaked MacBook websites. That's essentially a way for them to test out what features are worth pursuing and actually releasing out there onto the public market by seeing how many views and interactions or shares all these fake leaked features websites have. When I see this image once again, it's like got a sense of the old institutional generation combined with like high fashion, luxury, modern aesthetics. And those two pieces connects really well to a marketer or a creative, but sometimes you just can't quantify why it works. And something like a test market using a fake account on Reddit just to create this image to see how well it works, and then let the online react for themselves. It gives you a nice gauge without actually being the official account to actually release this.
Yeah, so there's clearly a framework there. The music industry does this as well. Artists will leak their own music all the time to see how it performs before they actually release it. There's a lot that can be learned from the Balenciaga Pope. So moving on, number 3. On February 18th, 2016, while he was aboard his flight home from a mission in Mexico, Pope Francis declared that avoiding pregnancy is not an absolute evil when he was asked about contraception in the case of the Zika crisis that had been going on at the time.
This broke from the traditional doctrine and immediately lit up the news wires, sparking global debate on public health versus doctrine and what, in a sense, is religiously acceptable. It created a lot of conversation and debate and public discourse.
When you make a statement, the Pope may have just said this in passing. I mean, he was literally on a flight when he said this. And he puts it in such a simple way. I mean, even if you just read the direct quote, it's not that hardcore. But how did the world react to this? News outlets ran wild. Right-wing outlets used it to totally ruffle the feathers of their faces, and then the left-wing outlets did their thing with it. Just such a huge frenzy for the media. It really just shows that when you're in this position of leadership, making a small statement can have huge rippling effects.
Honestly, it kind of lets you reflect a little bit when you are in that position of key leadership. Having some type of PR strategy might work really well in the long haul, because if you have like rehearsed series of course of action or a dialogue, then you have more leeway into letting you express your opinion in the public press while still keeping in line with whatever your company stands for. If you look at a lot of the publicly traded company C-suites, for example, they're literally limited to what they can speak, because they're really balancing a fine line on what is forward guidance for their company or what is a piece of information that they can just freely share.
This is no different from you going onto a podcast and just talking about your company's strategy for the year. And this is something that, like, yes, of course, this is the Pope. Obviously, people are going to pay a lot of attention to him, but this continues to happen all the way to the very bottom. You could be a one-person company, and this is still a principle that you should be paying attention to. And it's a reason why you should go out there and go on podcasts and go to events and do these things, because that's where you set aside your brand for better or for worse. Bring in your tribe.
I have a big brain theory. So I'm just gathering that this news actually broke back in 2016. And that's when Christianity and Catholicism was kind of on the downturn already, and they needed some way to get back into the general public's minds again. I wonder if this is really just like a test market statement to see if they should really change some side of their position at the time on contraception, to kind of gauge a little bit about, okay, what is your audience in for an appetite of for your brand? And at the time, it speaks a lot on the reactionary ripple effect that everyone suddenly then saw the Vatican and Pope Francis at the time being a little bit more progressive, or seeing him as more of a progressive pope.
I think on a high level here, there's so much that you can learn from the Pope. And it's always like worth mentioning that the Vatican are not super public about how big of an organization that they are, but people speculate that the Roman Catholic Church is, by finances, the largest organization in the entire world. So you can definitely assume that they would put the same level of care and resources into this that Apple would be putting into this, or BlackRock, or any of these other behemoth companies. There's definitely a lot of free game to learn here if you sort of peel back the layers.
We broke down a lot of the core principles of viral moments that the Pope endured and utilized. If you like this breakdown, hit subscribe and join us as we dissect a little bit more of these ideas to show you how to make them work for your brand.
Thanks for watching.